Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker. ARHQ.com is the website. Find out more about Nolan and the team. Set up a time to speak there as well. Or you can give a call, 419-794-3030. There's a new list from Wallet Hub of the top 10 places to retire. It's based on cost of living, tax laws, quality of life, retirement activities, healthcare quality. Orlando is ranked number 1. Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and Miami also making the top 10. A lot of retirees in Florida. Kind of makes sense. The thing is, relocation is out of the question for a lot of people because they want to remain close to family or, live in a paid-off house. So how can you help maximize their retirement savings and strategies right where they live?
That's a great question. If you look at the top 10 places to retire, you've got 4 of them down in Florida. So Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and Miami. And I was just in Fort Lauderdale, and I was just in the Tampa area here recently. We were doing some college tours for my youngest son. He's looking at Florida Atlantic University. He's also looking at South Florida. So great locations. And I totally get it why people would want to live in those top 10 places. So when you're looking at the issue of maximizing your retirement strategy and your location, I think a lot of it comes down to one is, considering how to optimize your Social Security benefits. So when people are getting close to retirement time, they're looking at maybe a change of location. Florida is attractive for not only the beaches and the sunshine, no state income taxes, a lot of benefits down there, which make it in the top of the list. And so people will oftentimes probably start Social Security right when they retire. I think the statistic that's out there that I saw is roughly 70% of people will take Social Security before their full retirement age, but that might not be a way to maximize their retirement savings and strategies. If they want to get more income, it may be better off than to wait to optimize the strategies, wait to take Social Security later in life. And if you're going to move to a different location, maybe what that means is that you don't move right away. Maybe you rent out an Airbnb in a couple different places. Heck, if there's 4 top locations in Florida and Florida's on your list, maybe you do a couple different Airbnbs over the next 2 or 3 years, allowing you not to have that added expense of a Florida property, but allowing you to get a taste of the town, if you will. Because number 2, what you want to do is you want to be careful in retirement time to stay out of debt. I can tell you personally, having an office in West Palm and traveling down to Florida, we go to that Fort Lauderdale, West Palm area quite a bit. And if you look at the housing costs in that area or, almost in anywhere compared to Northwest Ohio, we have really affordable housing here in Northwest Ohio. I paid off my mortgage when my first son went to college a couple of years ago. He's now graduated college. And I think if I look at my retired clients that are out enjoying life and living the retirement dream, a general trend of them is that they don't have debt. So you want to be careful about location and going into a location at retirement time and taking on, a massive mortgage or debt payment would be number 2. Number 3 is minimizing taxes. This can be, again, another area where, those states that income taxes are not taxable make it attractive. Like Florida is a good example of that. But in the big scheme of things, you want to then work that into your taxation reduction plan for what you pay in federal taxes, because that can be the bigger number of the two when you're looking at the difference between federal and state. So in retirement, you could be debt-free, and I oftentimes would then say, you know what, actually you still have a big debt right now in retirement, and that debt is the taxes that the government feels is their fair share on taking from your retirement account when you take those withdrawals out. And looking at taxes today, looking at strategies to reduce taxes like the tax savers checklist, like creating that tax roadmap, and or thinking about where taxes will be in the future, minimizing the amount of taxes that you pay is going to allow you to have more money in your pocket. If you had to pay 25% in taxes, think about how long it takes before your money earns 20 or 25%. And that tax bite can chomp a lot into your retirement savings and strategies that you take. Number four is, again, going back to kind of understanding that cost of living based upon, where you're going to live. The cost of living in housing could be much more expensive in Florida, again, depending upon how close, I guess, you get to the beach and what location that you live in. But even the surrounding activities, Orlando is a perfect, travel destination where they, cater to, spending more money at some of these other locations. And not to say that you shouldn't dine out and have a good time in retirement time, but you have to compare what some of those costs are. You have to shop around. I think one of my wife and I's favorite things to do is find the little local hangouts and avoid some of the more expensive
Oh yeah.
attractions, and those are great because you get something that's off the beaten path. Usually get a little great music. We found a fish restaurant in the Fort Lauderdale area that we oftentimes will like to go to. Just, again, understanding how you have to navigate where you live in that environment. Number five is you want to make sure that you're optimizing your investments. And when you're optimizing your investments, you're making sure that every dollar is working as hard as possible. At the same time, understanding, what the level of risk is. So if you're going to, take on bigger expenses or have a higher standard of living based upon the location, you want to see what would be the impact of a major market downturn, and then what are the strategies that you can take to reduce that. In retirement, I would say almost all roads lead to income. So looking at your income sources, looking at ways, not only through Social Security, but looking at things like, dividend paying stocks or looking at where some of these high fixed rates are, can be a way to optimize the overall investments. And number six is to have a plan and then stress test that plan. So when somebody comes in and they see us and we put together this retirement team action plan, inside of the retirement team action plan, what we're going to do is we're going to run roughly 2,000 possible scenarios of what could be the outcome if something happens in life. In an earlier segment, we were talking about a couple that recently came in, John and Mary. John's getting ready to retire at the end of the year. And when we looked at his plan and we looked at the overall basic scenarios, he had about 84% probability of success of meeting his retirement income goals when we stress test the plan. So in starting at taking a look at that, the thing that I would say is, to me, that's a pretty good start. I think when we do optimization of a plan, our goal is to get it over 90%. So he doesn't have a far to go once they get that probability of success as high as possible. But by doing that and stress testing the plan, what we were able to do is we were able to then, start to identify, okay, what could be the things that could blow up this plan? And in their situation, in John's situation, what we did is we added in the scenario of John needing assisted living for the last 2 years of his life. And, in today's dollars, that's maybe $55,000 a year. So again, it was assisted living. It wasn't the full-fledged cost of a nursing home. But if John ends up going into needing some assisted living for the last 2 years of his life or in-home care, what it did is it took his probability of success from that high 80 all the way down to about a 40% probability.
Oh,
So by going through the plan, what we did is we identified that, a long-term care expense could be a big disaster in their situation. And the good news is they're young, so they have choices about, decisions that they can make to offset that in case something happens in the future. But when we stress test the plan, we can look at the impact of what if a market crash happens right after you retire, or Social Security does what they say they're going to do and they reduce benefits by 20% in 10 years, or what if tax rates go up? And then by looking at these areas, what it helps you do is it helps you really try to maximize your retirement savings, and it gives you either peace of mind that that in the location that you want to be is something that is possible and can be, a strategy that you can incorporate, or if not, and things like maybe visiting for 2 years, Airbnbs, delaying taking Social Security to optimize maybe a better plan. But all the different types of things that, again, we can do within that retirement team action plan, and we'd love to put it together for you.
and again, all it takes to get started is a phone call, 419-794-3030. It really does speak to the nature of having that plan, put together as soon as possible, because maybe there are steps that need to be taken, but the sooner you find out what they are, the sooner you can take those steps to really increase your probability. And then, not to say that the plan can't change down the line. Maybe you decide you do want to move after all, or you want to stay, right where you are, being able to go back and reconsult the plan and see how that changes things. But it all begins, once again, with that phone call, 419-794-3030, or setting up a time on the website as well, including finding out how to attend one of the upcoming events that they've got at arhq.com.